A phone call used to be a simple thing. We didn't need a reason to hear someone else's voice or to see how their day was going, did we? Now, if the screen lights up with an unscheduled name, we assume there's a crisis or a catch. We've turned connection into a transaction, a careful exchange of utility and social capital. I sat there staring at a name I haven't spoken out loud in over a decade of living my own life. 10 years is a lot of silence to fill with just a few words and a nervous, shaky breath in the dark. I wondered if they still had the same number, or if I'd be speaking to a complete stranger today. The digital footprint says they're still out there, living a life that looks polished and bright. But social media is just a series of museum exhibits we curate for people we don't even know. I wanted the real thing, the unedited version of a person I used to know by heart and soul. I felt this strange, heavy friction in my thumb as it hovered over the green icon on the cold glass. It is funny how a piece of glass can feel like a solid wall when you're trying to be brave. My brain started making a list of all the ways this could go terribly and publicly wrong for me. They'll think I'm selling insurance, or maybe I'm part of some elaborate, multi-level scheme. Or the big one, the fear that they'll think I am calling because I am desperate for a loan. We're so cynical now that I miss you sounds like the opening line of a very long sales pitch. It is a sad state of affairs when affection is viewed with more suspicion than a random cold call. I pressed the button before I could talk myself out of it and go back to my quiet, safe isolation. The ringing sound was rhythmic and indifferent, a mechanical heartbeat in the empty afternoon air. Each ring felt like a question I didn't have the answer to, a test of my own sudden courage. What if the answer and there's just nothing to say after the first hello hits the cold air? 10 years is a long time to summarize between breaths while standing alone in your own kitchen. Then the line clicked, and the world suddenly felt much smaller and much more intimate to me. Hello. The voice was deeper, older, but the cadence was exactly how I remembered it being. My throat felt tight, a physical reaction to a ghost that had suddenly become a living person again. I said their name, and for a second, the silence on the other end was heavy and very suspicious. I could almost hear them checking their own mental records, trying to place the specific sound of me. It's been a while, I said, which is a bit like saying the ocean is a little bit damp today, really. And the statement is a good shield when you're feeling exposed and a bit foolish on a Tuesday. I noticed you're shifting your weight now, maybe thinking of a number you've deleted twice already. We all have that one person we've left behind in the rush to get to wherever we think we're going. I told them I was just calling to say I missed them, that I didn't need anything at all from them. The words felt thin, almost like they weren't enough to bridge the gap of 3,000 long days. But then, I heard a sound that I hadn't heard in a decade. A genuine, surprised, and warm laugh. It wasn't the kind of laugh you get from a joke. It was the kind that comes from pure, raw relief. They told me they had been thinking about calling me too, but they were afraid I'd be too busy. We're all just sitting in our separate rooms, waiting for someone else to be the brave one first. We talked about nothing and everything for nearly an hour, and the time just sort of dissolved. I didn't ask for money, and they didn't try to sell me a dream or a lifestyle or a supplement. We were just two people who used to be friends, trying to remember what that actually felt like once. I realized that the risk I was so afraid of was mostly just a shadow living in my own head. We build these complicated defenses against people who aren't even trying to attack us at all. It is a lot of energy to spend on a war that isn't actually happening outside of your own tired mind. I wondered if the distance between us was actually 10 years, or just a few inches of stubborn pride. The phone started to get warm against my ear, a physical reminder of the heat of the connection. I felt a bit lighter after I hung up, like I'd finally put down a bag I'd been carrying for a mile. But then a contradiction started to settle in, a quiet doubt about the nature of the call itself. Was it really for them, or was it just a way for me to feel better about my own modern loneliness? If I call everyone I miss, do I actually solve the problem, or just delay the inevitable silence? Some bridges are meant to stay broken, I suppose, but it's hard to tell which ones from here. I noticed that the house felt a bit quieter after the call was over, a bit more empty than before. Maybe hearing their voice just reminded me of how much I've actually lost in the last 10 years. We gain success and stability, but we lose the easy, unthinking intimacy of our younger days. It is a trade-off that nobody tells you about when they're selling you the future in a glossy ad. If you're still listening, I wonder if you have the heart to dial that one old number tonight. Don't worry about the money or the insurance. Just worry about the sound of a voice you've lost. It's a small thing, but small things are the only things that seem to actually matter in the end. I'm still not sure if I'll call them again next week, or if we'll go back to another 10 years. The phone is just sitting there on the table now, cold and black and completely indifferent to me. It's just a tool, but it feels a lot heavier now than it did when I woke up early this morning. We take our connections for granted until we realize they were the only things holding us up. I think I'll just sit here for a minute and not say anything at all to anyone in the world. The silence is different now, a bit more intentional and a bit more, well, it's just there. Maybe the best way to tell someone you miss them is to just let the line stay open for a while. A phone call used to be a simple thing, and I think I'd like to believe that it still could be. Thank you for listening. I'll see you in the next episode.